time to go to Rewind, which is what we do on this show. Occasionally, we will tell you the movies that came out 10 years ago today and 20 years ago today. As Campy likes to say, it's the We All Feel Old segment. So, Sinead, what came out a decade and 2 decades ago this week?
All right, well, celebrating its 10th birthday is Waiting, 2 for the Money, and In Her Shoes, and celebrating 20 years, Assassins, Dead Presidents, and How to Make an American Quilt.
Okay, so Christian, when you see the decade-old movies, when you see You're Waiting, you see the 2 for the Money and In Her Shoes, which one of those strikes you?
Strangely enough, Waiting, and I didn't like it when I first saw it.
You were great in that movie.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. And you son of a... the movie itself, I worked in a restaurant a couple times, so it was pretty accurate.
Do you care to say which restaurant?
I worked at the Olive Garden at one point.
Did you really?
I worked at CPK, and I worked at the Stinkin' Rose, which is a California-based
It's
restaurant.
a good place, but you will smell like garlic for a week afterwards.
And I was as good as anyone in this movie because they're all terrible, and I was pretty terrible as a waiter. That being said, it was a smaller comedy. It had comedic talent that you had. Justin Long, you hadn't really seen a lot of these guys step up and do anything yet.
Ryan Reynolds as well.
Ryan Reynolds. So it's a pretty. There are some funny gags in that movie for sure. The other one that popped was the 10-year one was Waiting.
Two for the Money.
2 for the Money. 2 for the Money. I remember being really disappointed with that film because I'm a Pacino guy. So to have Pacino and McConaughey in a movie together, gambling, I thought it was going to be one of those movies that you just remember forever, and it's forgettable.
When 2 for the Money came out, I saw an ad for it, and Redbox wasn't even a thing yet, but in my head, that screamed Redbox to me, where this is not something that you rush out to the theater
Blockbuster
to pay money to see. It is such a rental, and you can have an entertaining good time with it, but it is not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination. Neither is Waiting, for that matter. I never saw In Her Shoes. Waiting was something that I was really excited to see, because as a youth, I was a huge Dane Cook fan. I still am. I love his stand-up, and seeing that he was going to make the transition into acting, I was like, oh, I wonder what he's going to bring to the table. And Ryan Reynolds is completely owns that movie. Justin Long's fine in it too. Dane Cook has a smaller part. Luis Guzman has a smaller part. David Kettner's hilarious in the movie. Itself together as a united piece isn't that great. But if you've ever dined at like an Applebee's, which I have on multiple occasions,
Last night.
By daily, I will eat at a corporate restaurant. This movie can give you some pause.
I will tell you though, the 20-year ones for me, I don't care how dated it is. Assassins, I love it.
See, I don't remember. I remember getting excited to see Assassins because you had Antonio Banderas, fresh off of Desperado, which I loved, and Sylvester Stallone is Stallone. So you're going into that, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to see these guys duel. And I remember being bored in the theater.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I loved it. And it was the first time you really see Julianne Moore in that film as well too. That was the first time I remember. Every time I see Julianne Moore, still I remember her from Assassins. But and a lot of people don't realize that the Wachowski brothers wrote the initial draft, and they actually wanted to take their names off the script because they didn't like the finished version of it. But I just thought it was really funny, silly, fun. It was one of those movies. It proved that Antonio Banderas could hang with Stallone at the time too, because Stallone was Stallone, like you said. And I think that it's one of those movies you go back, it is dated, but it's still a lot of fun. And then Dead Presidents.
Right.
I saw that one in the theater. Remember, and I saw Dwight Gooden there. Remember that? I met Dwight Gooden.
Dr. K?
I met Dwight Gooden when I saw that movie. But that's another one to me that I don't know if it'll hold up now, but at the time it was pretty intense, and it was pretty raw.
See, I think Dead Presidents is actually a little underrated because when the Hughes brothers, who made Menace to Society in '93, and that put them on the map so hard, then it's tough to follow up something like Menace to Society, which is such a gut punch. So Dead Presidents didn't do that, but it is a very watchable, engaging movie. And I remember actually now that I'm thinking about it, me and 2 of my buddies went to go see Assassins on opening night, and my mom and my sister went to go see How to Make an American
Oh, really?
Quilt.
Oh, that's
I've
fine.
never seen that movie,
Me either.
but my mom and my sister had good things to say about it.
Danny Elfman, I believe, does the end score, or a lot of the score for Dead Presidents, and there's the end when they rob the bank. It's if you look it up, it's an incredible, intense piece of music.
To this day, every time I get a $100 bill, I call it a Dead President.
Sinead, any of those movies that you remember? You were probably born right around the time that
Have you seen any of
Dead
them?
Presidents came out.
I have not seen one of those movies.
All right.
No, literally no.
Well, thanks for playing.
Sometimes I'm like, oh, okay. Like there have been a few, especially in the past couple weeks, but legitimately have never seen.
Well, out of the ones that we talked about, though, do any of those sound interesting to you that you'd want to say? And I'm gonna in my head, I'm gonna guess the one that you're saying, and you do the same.
Just like the Newlywed Game.
Yeah.
Are you guys thinking Waiting?
Nope.
Really?
I actually I think you would enjoy it. That's not the one I'm picking though.
Well, I would have said Waiting, so I don't know.
No, all right.
I was going 2 for the money.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was going the Quilt movie.
It's got McConaughey in it, man.
Quilt
Girls love
movie.
McConaughey,
All right.
and guys can love him too.